Welcome back to the channel, and today we're continuing our Big Bang Theory journey by ranking every episode of Season 2, from worst to best. Season 2 is where the show really starts to find its rhythm. The characters begin to evolve beyond their stereotypes, the writing sharpens, and the chemistry between the cast becomes undeniable. However, even a solid season has its ups and downs, so let's dive into the full ranking. 23, we have the financial permeability. This episode is one of the more forgettable ones, and the plot centers around Penny being behind on her rent and Sheldon having to lend her money. This leads to Leonard confronting Penny's ex, Kurt, and while the setup could have made for some strong character moments, it ended up feeling pretty emotionally flat. Sheldon's discomfort with lending money and Leonard's effort to help Penny are both nice, but the humor doesn't land consistently, and the episode doesn't really move the story forward at all. The pacing feels pretty slow, and the payoff, which was Kurt writing a check that never gets cashed, feels like a wasted opportunity. It's not a bad episode, but it's definitely the least compelling of the whole season. Next, we have the codpiece topology. Leslie Winkle returns, and Leonard dives into a rebound relationship that lacks spark or narrative purpose. The chemistry between Leonard and Leslie is nowhere near as compelling as Leonard and Penny's dynamic, and the episode leans too heavily on awkward humor without providing much insight or growth for either character. The other characters take a backseat, and the plot just kind of peters out without a satisfying resolution. It kind of feels like filler and doesn't do much to build on the characters that we actually care about. Next, we have the Vegas renormalization, where Howard has to deal with the heartbreak, the guys go to Vegas, and Sheldon stays behind with Penny. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite come together, and Howard moping about his breakup isn't particularly interesting, and Raj and Leonard's encounter with a prostitute isn't that funny either. It's kind of cringeworthy. And Sheldon and Penny do have some fun moments, but they don't get enough screen time together to carry the episode. The narrative never feels cohesive, and the humor falls flat, which is why it ranks so low. Next up, we have the cushion saturation, and this episode starts with a promise, which was paintball. And it's always a good setting for chaos, but quickly turns into a story about Leslie Winkle and Howard's casual relationship, which is far less engaging. The highlight is Sheldon's devastation over his paint-stained cushion, which continues the great running joke about his attachment to his spot on the couch. Unfortunately, that subplot isn't enough to carry the rest of the episode, which feels like it's spinning its wheels. Leslie and Howard's subplot just doesn't have the emotional or comedic payoff the show is capable of. At number 19 is the dead hooker juxtaposition. When Alicia, a new and attractive neighbor, moves in and immediately charms the guys, Penny becomes pretty insecure and territorial. While this episode tries to explore Penny's deeper emotions and sense of identity, it ultimately leans too heavily into uncomfortable tropes and a petty rivalry. Alicia isn't fully developed enough to be a compelling foil, and the episode relies on physical conflict in a way that feels outdated. There's a few good lines that save it from total just number 23, but not by much. Next up, we have the Euclid alternative. Sheldon's inability to drive leads to chaos as each of his friends takes a turn attempting to teach him. The idea of Sheldon behind the wheel is funny in theory, but it quickly becomes repetitive. His over-the-top reactions and screaming are exaggerating even for him, and the plot doesn't go anywhere beyond the initial gag. While the robotic car punchline is solid, the episode lacks any real stakes or progression for Sheldon's character. At number 17, we have the Varda Bedian conundrum, however you say that. And this episode tries to explore Leonard's discomfort in a fast-moving relationship with Stephanie, but it doesn't quite land. The situation is that Stephanie is essentially moving in without Leonard's consent, and it just feels kind of awkward and a bit unsettling. Sheldon's attempts to diagnose Leonard's unhappiness provides a few comedic highlights, but the overall tone is uneven and the relationship lacks chemistry. It's a weird blend of funny and uncomfortable, so it's not too bad, but not the best. Next, we have the classified materials turbulence. This episode centers around Howard discovering a potentially catastrophic design flaw in a space toilet he helped build. It's a fun and absurd premise that taps into the show's geeky side, but it feels like it stretches a single joke across an entire episode. The frantic group brainstorming to fix the issue is entertaining, and the high stakes do keep things interesting, but emotionally, it feels pretty hollow. However, the technical humor is still on point, which saves it from mediocrity. At number 15, we have the friendship algorithm. Sheldon tries to make a friend using a flowchart and treats social interaction like a scientific procedure. It's classic Sheldon material, and his attempt to bond with Kirkby, who's the GOAT by the way, is filled with great awkward humor. However, the premise doesn't really evolve beyond the initial joke, and the other characters are mostly sidelined. While it's a fun episode, it just doesn't have the same depth or impact as others higher on the list. It's a one-note joke stretched to a bit too far. Next, we have the Griffin equivalency. Raj gets featured in the People magazine and lets the fame go to his head. It's great to see Raj in the spotlight for once, and his overconfidence leads to some very funny moments. Especially the dinner party, where Penny calls him out, is a highlight. However, the episode feels a little disjointed and doesn't quite make most of its premise. It's a nice Raj-centric episode, but not a standout overall. Next up is the maternal capacitance, and Leonard's emotionally distant mother, Beverly Hofstetter, visits, and the results are nothing short of spectacular. Kristen Baranski's performance is pitch perfect, and the way she bonds with Sheldon, while psychologically dissecting everyone else, is both hilarious and deeply uncomfortable. Penny's emotional unraveling and Leonard's growing frustration give the episode an emotional core that elevates it above the average sitcom fare. It's sharp, witty, and incredibly memorable. At number 12 is The Barbarian Sublimation. Penny spirals into video game addiction after being introduced to Age of Conan by Sheldon. It's a role reversal that works beautifully, with Penny embracing nerd culture while Sheldon inadvertently becomes her enabler. Kaylee Cuoco's comedic timing is on full display, and the visuals of her increasingly disheveled state are hilarious, especially with her Cheeto hair. It's a strong character-driven episode that blends geek humor with real-world relatability and pokes fun at obsessive behavior in a lighthearted way, which makes it so compelling to watch. At number 11, we have The Bad Fish Paradigm, or the first episode of the season. Penny tells Sheldon a secret, and the secret weighs down on him so much that he has to move out to avoid telling Leonard. However, Raj and Howard both don't welcome him just due to his behavior, and Sheldon coming back to Leonard being all drugged was pretty funny. However, Leonard just annoyed me a lot this episode, so that's why it's dropping so low. But otherwise, it's a very good episode. Next, we have the killer robot instability. Howard's robot building subplot is a blast, especially when it culminates in a destructive battle with another team's killer bot. However, the heart of the episode lies in Howard's confrontation with Penny, who finally calls him out for being creepy. This moment of emotional honesty adds depth to Howard's character, and his subsequent apology is a rare moment of growth. The balance of humor and heart is spot on. Next up, we have the Lizard Spock expansion. This is the episode that introduced the world to Rock, Paper, Scissors, Lizard Spock, a nerdy twist on a childhood classic that became an instant fan favorite. While that alone would make it memorable, the episode also features Raj and Howard's failed attempts to pick up goth girls, leading to some truly awkward and funny moments. The combination of clever geek humor and character-driven laughs makes it a standout. And sometimes I just randomly remember this game, so that's how you know the episode's good. At number 8, we have the Hofstetter Isotope. In this episode, we're introduced to Stuart, who's one of my all-time favorite characters. So this episode automatically shoots up like 10 levels. But this episode was also pretty funny due to all the anything can happen Thursday and how Raj gets a lot more luck compared to Leonard and Howard at the bars. Overall, it's an okay episode, but since it introduced Stuart, it's going to be up here. Next, at number 7, we have the White Asparagus Triangulation. Sheldon interferes in Leonard's new relationship by attempting to covertly keep things on track. His behavior is wildly inappropriate, but undeniably funny, especially as he employs all kinds of bizarre tactics to influence the outcome. The highlight is Sheldon accidentally running into Leonard and his girlfriend on multiple occasions, armed with random trivia. It's one of those episodes where Sheldon's over-the-top behavior feels perfectly in character and immensely entertaining. Next, we have the Cooper-Nowitzki theorem. A research assistant becomes obsessed with Sheldon, elevating him to a cult leader status without him even realizing it. The episode offers a hilarious commentary on fame and obliviousness, and watching the other characters react in horror as she praises him is fantastic. It's a unique episode that shows Sheldon in a new light while also delivering plenty of laughs. The contrast between Sheldon's detachment and the escalating weirdness around him is gold. Coming in at number 5 is the Work Song Nano Cluster. Penny launches a flower business, and Sheldon offers to help, eventually roping in the rest of the guys. What starts as a simple idea quickly turns into a full-scale chaos, culminating in an all-night assembly line fueled by caffeine and stress. Sheldon on caffeine is an absolute highlight, and the pacing and energy of the episode are top-notch. It's classic Big Bang Theory chaos at its finest, which is why it ranks so high. Next, we have the Terminator decoupling. The guys take a train trip to a science conference and unexpectedly encounter Summer Glau. Roger's attempt to hit on her while drunk are cringeworthy gold, and Sheldon's obsession with delivering a paper to a Nobel Prize winner drives a strong B-plot. It's a bottle episode with a geeky celebrity cameo, rapid-fire jokes, and a solid character work. It's one of those episodes where everything just clicks and is memorable to you as an audience. Cracking the top 3 is the bath item gift hypothesis. This is one of the most beloved episodes in the entire series. Sheldon trying to quantify gift giving, only to be emotionally overwhelmed by Penny's thoughtful present, a napkin signed by Leonard Nimoy, is iconic. His awkward yet heartfelt hug speaks volumes about their friendship. It's a perfect holiday episode, funny, touching, and unforgettable. Few episodes in the series blend character and comedy as well as this one. At number 2 is the Monopolar Expedition. The season finale is a fantastic mix of character development and comedy. The guys prepare for a research expedition to the Arctic, and Sheldon's enthusiasm is infectious. Meanwhile, Leonard and Penny share a subtle emotional beat that hints at future possibilities. It's an ambitious episode that ends the season on a very high note, setting the stage for new adventures to come. And finally, for the top episode of season 2, and I'm probably biased about this as well, but it's the Penny Pinata polarization. This episode features one of the best Sheldon and Penny conflicts in the entire series. When Penny gets banned from the apartment, the resulting standoff is both petty and hilarious. The introduction of the roommate agreement also adds a new layer to Sheldon's character, and the subplot with Howard and Raj tracking America's Next Top Model contestants is ridiculous in also the best way. It's clever, well-paced, and shows just how much mileage the writers can get out of a simple roommate conflict. That finishes out all the episodes for Season 2 of The Big Bang Theory. Don't forget to like and subscribe for our Season 3 rankings, and thank you for watching.